All right, congratulations. Thank you. Well, I have to say, I'm surprised that any of you are actually here tonight. When Denise said we were sold out, I was a little bit shocked. I mean, I don't want to ruin the evening, but seriously, I mean, isn't the state of our city kind of obvious at this point? I mean, maybe you haven't heard. In December, the President of the United States at the White House held a ceremony where he acknowledged 7 leading cities in the United States of America on delivering early learning to young people in America. 7 cities, we were one of them. You might have missed it, but 2 weeks ago, the Business Journal did a poll, and West Sacramento came out top on the entire region's rankings as the top city for commuting. Our commuters are the happiest and have the shortest of all commutes in the entire region. Not just in the cars, we're currently second highest in the region for May is Bike Month for trip replacement miles. We're actually always in the top 5 of any bicycle ranking in the region for trip replacement. You might have seen a survey last month actually, where we came out in the top 5 suburbs in the region, tied with Rockland. I don't really think of us as a suburb per se, but if you had gone back in time to 1987 when we first incorporated and you said to anyone in West Sacramento that we were going to tie with Rockland as one of the greatest suburbs in the region, they would have laughed you away. And so we'll take it. Because at the same time, a month before that, the Bee did an expansive story describing West Sacramento and the movement of the center of gravity of the region to the west, and how the recentering of downtown was being anchored by new excitement and development and activity here in West Sacramento. We also won the National Award for Gardens and Green Spaces for the work on our urban farms with the Center for Land-Based Learning, which you may have missed. The SBA administrator came out to visit our port because she saw this as a key place for the country to be able to leverage support for the Trans-Pacific Partnership. Councilmember Johannesson just helped to launch a new station, the 10th station in California for hydrogen fuel cell vehicles. We were one of the first as well. I think we're one of the cities with the most hydrogen fuel stations in the country. You might have missed that. CalSTRS, we didn't have anything to do with this, but CalSTRS is a not a trivial part of our community, and they just got upgraded their ranking yet again to a positive rating, which means a heck of a lot when you're an entity of that size and scope, and so CalSTRS is going like gangbusters. American Rivers, which is a leading environmental group, and decided that West Sac was one of the leading examples in Northern California for multi-benefit flood management. Thank you, Bill Christoph, for the great work. We were the host for TBD Fest, which was perhaps the biggest, most exciting, most dynamic music and entertainment event that's been hosted in our region possibly ever. We've been noted all over the country for Jackrabbit and Yolo Brew making 3, along with Bike Dog Brewing in our new brew district near the port. In the late summer, we brought mayors from all across the United States to the Tower Bridge dinner. It was the most impressive pair of cities that group of mayors had ever seen in all of their travels across the country. Even today, when I see mayors from virtually anywhere in the country, New Orleans, Louisville, Kentucky, New York, Chicago, they are still talking about the beautiful city of West Sacramento and what they saw even just from the Tower Bridge. For Governing Magazine, we got the Public Innovation Award of the Year from Governing Magazine. We've been out now to speak nationally around innovation in local government 3 times. We won the award for the most livable city in America from the United States Conference of Mayors. And I'll be clear, this is for the most livable, not gigantic city. New Orleans was the other winner. So New Orleans and us won the award for the most livable city in America. Again, if we'd gone back 20 years, 30 years back to incorporation, this would have been a ridiculous idea. Even our aspiration at the time, which was to be the premier city of the Sacramento Valley, we couldn't say without laughing. Because it seems so absurd that we could aspire to such heights, and so this year to be named the most livable city in America was a huge deal. And then finally, now we're the host of the world champion San Francisco Giants right here in West Sacramento at Rayleigh Field. through our long-standing success with the River Cats, the most successful franchise in AAA, and an essential part of the fabric of our own region and our own community. So I don't know, if you didn't hear any of those things as they were happening, I'm just, this is just the tip of the iceberg. And so it felt like, State of the City is almost an unnecessary event this year, because it seems so, we're finally noticed. Folks who have been living in Bright or in Broderick or in Bridgeway Lakes or in Gateway or in my old neighborhood in Westmore Oaks or State Street, people around our community, they've known forever this is a great place to live. They've known the magic, but nobody else paid attention to us. When I first got elected to the city council, the Bee would only write about crimes in West Sacramento, and then every 5 years on the dot, they would write a story, a feature story, about this great undiscovered place on the other side of the river that maybe something was about to happen, and then they'd get back to crime stories the next day. But now it's been noticed, and it's a huge accomplishment and a huge achievement for our community. The other reason I'm surprised you're here is because of the big day of giving, and I know, folks in this room, how dedicated each of you are to the community, to the region, of the organizations that make it tick. And so I do hope that we'll all, looking at the leaderboard this morning, Center for Land-Based Learning and a lot of other local nonprofits are getting a lot of good support, but we can put them over the line. The Elderly Nutrition Program, which operates Meals on Wheels in our county. They deserve a little bit of love and a little support. Or the Los Rios Foundation, they have the college across the street that's turned around so many lives in our community. And so, you'll have till midnight. I'm going to give you some other clues as we go through the evening about other opportunities. But it really is an opportunity, a chance for us to invest in the social and civic fabric about what makes our community and our region so great. Can't just be about bridges and streetcars and new buildings and new facilities. It has to be about that social fabric. And today is a tremendous opportunity to leverage our investments in people that are making a difference. Now, one of the things I think we're all the most excited about, even though it's not the biggest thing dollar-wise ever to happen in our city, is the new Disney park being built by Kaboom at Bright Park. You heard Mark Johannesson mention it. Bright Park is the northernmost and largest park in the entire city. And it is part it brings together two communities that were at the heart of West Sacramento's original existence. Now, when Disneyland first opened 60 years ago, there was no Bright Park. Bright and Broderick back then actually didn't even touch each other. Today, if you ask a lot of folks in our city, they don't know even where the line is. But back then, they were far apart. Bright was the next stop. It was a mile down the highway from Broderick to get to Bright. There was no Arteagas, and there was no Russian Church of the Evangelical Baptists, because there was no Jefferson. Jefferson Boulevard, which we think of today as our core arterial, just didn't exist then. And even this building was essentially the parking lot for the airport at the Capitol Sky Park. There was no Pioneer Bridge. There was no mainline Interstate 80. There was no port. The freeway that did exist went directly to the Tower Bridge. This was a radically different place in so many ways. But as the generations proceeded, our city came together. Not like so many other places in our region that started as a cute little small town and then started sprawling endlessly onto farmland and a habitat. Not West Sacramento. West Sacramento was born from the convergence, the coming together, filling in between Bright and Broderick, and between Bright and Broderick and Old West Sacramento, while still building Southport too. That's what West Sacramento was all about, growing inward. In fact, we were doing infill development before it was cool. In fact, that's what made us who we are as a community. Now, you can find out more about this if you're a member of the West Sacramento Historical Society, which is a participant in the Big Day of Giving. So you might want to get on your phone and give them a buck too. But when we finally became a city, because of Proposition 13 and then Proposition 218 right after that, we essentially had about zero money that we could spend in existing neighborhoods. The whole way of financing municipalities switched to how do you generate development, impact fees, and how do you generate sales tax, the kinds of things you can't do in an existing neighborhood unless you go back to the 1960s and start bulldozing houses, which this community was never prepared to do, which we never considered. Redevelopment could help our riverfront some, it could help our port, could bring our downtown back to life and create this magical place here. New development could create some fantastic, great places and amenities in Southport. But there was no way to be able to make investments in places like Broderick and Bright, the core of what our community was all about, or even most of Old West Sacramento. Now, we did it anyway. West Sacramento, it didn't matter what the law was. We were going to find a way, because that's why we became a city. With IKEA and River Point, and then CalSTRS and the rivers, with projects that virtually everybody opposed, like Metro Place, or even the folks who opposed Raley Field because it didn't have a dome on it. With innovative partnerships with the school district to create parks where none had existed. With visionary entrepreneurs, like people at the Broderick Roadhouse. With the local sales tax that voters here approved and then re-upped again and again. After all of that, despite the fact that Prop 13 and Prop 218 said you couldn't spend any money in these neighborhoods, we've spent more than $1 billion in Broderick and Bright over these last 2 decades. More than $1 billion. And now finally, Broderick is rising in ways that we had all dreamed about, that we had aspired to. The reason for our city's existence, to revitalize and to enliven the existing neighborhoods of our community, was finally coming true. You could see it if you go to 5th and C and see the urban farm and stop at Broderick, if you can get a place to sit down and a place to park, because it's always so crowded as a center of the community. You can see it now at Third Strike Cafe, down on 3rd Street, at Green Thumb Deli. You can come over here to Wicked Witch, which isn't technically Broderick, but they're anchored in Broderick because of Broderick Roadhouse. At Edible Pedal, where you can get a bike or get your bike repaired, or just spend 17 hours talking with some guy about bike repairs, or get a cup of coffee from Insight that's partly owned by West Sacramentans. You can get on the river through the stand-up paddle boards at the Broderick Boat Ramp. You are certain to see the veggie trike go by, and you're going to see a bunch more urban farms as well. This is the new Broderick. It's not Broderick done by a master developer with a whole bunch of Subways and McDonald's and other stuff. This is a real place that is re-emerging again, the heart of what our community was all about. Soon you're going to see all kinds of new art pathways that are emerging there. We're in a great art partnership with the Crocker. Crocker is also on Big Day of Giving, if you've got your smartphones out. We've just inked a deal for reuse of the Washington Firehouse, which is the very special, it's the most compelling example of streamlined, modern Art Deco architecture in our region that was slated for demolition in 1995, but that we saved and is now going to be converted and used as a major attractor in the neighborhood as well. And we're permitting and planning a bunch of other restaurants and mixed-use developments, creating a new living and life right there at the foot of the I Street Bridge in Washington Square. So Broderick is happening, and the magic is happening in every part of our town, whether it's places like Bridgeway Lakes Boathouse, which most of the city doesn't even know is there, but is an incredibly magical place. The Barge Canal, where the River City Rowing Club, also on Big Day of Giving, is headquartered. A great place for fishing or kayaking or just contemplation. The extension of the Clarksburg Branch Trail has created a new magical place in our city, and we're about to extend it even more. The Riverwalk, the Sycamore Trail that we're beginning this year, and that soon is going to cross over the freeway and connect one of our key elementary schools with the beer and brewing district. Because whatever. Hey, we got a grant for it. We're doing it. The barn. It's even hard for any of us to describe what it is, because it really is going to be something that is so unusual, so unexpected, so magical, and yet once it's there, you will not be able to imagine how we could have had a riverfront without it. And the Brew District, and IKEA, magical place after magical place after magical place, and now Bright Park will join them, and it'll join Adventureland and Tomorrowland and Frontierland as the newest part of the Magic Kingdom, and I think none of us could be prouder. And so we can only make this happen with the volunteers, and so we hope that you'll all join us. As Mark said, sign up to volunteer. You can't just show up that day for liability reasons, but we need 800 hands to make this project a reality, and so we need you. And then I hope, one project I'm hoping that we will be able to launch soon is work on the upper deck of the I Street Bridge. I've been calling it the I Line because the concept is modeled after the High Line in New York City. That's one of the most compelling public, actually nonprofit parks projects in the entire country. But the potential for reuse of that upper deck is incredible, and so I'm looking forward to being able to move forward with initial steps on making that project a reality as well. But the Kaboom Park is going to be, this Kaboom Disney facility that we're working on is going to be a magical transformation for Bright Park and for the neighborhoods. It's going to be an incredible thing for the kids. I was at the design day with all the kids, various ages, making decisions about what they wanted in their own park, drawing pictures with crayons, renderings of what they wanted in a park. These are kids who've never been asked anything, who in many cases have so little. And we're being asked by Mickey Mouse essentially to say, what are you dreaming about? And they kept saying things like, I want a zip line. And I thought, oh, God, that's crazy. We're not going to be able to do that. That's expensive, and I can't even imagine the liability issues. Well, the kids are getting their zip line. They're getting their zip line as part of this Tom Sawyer themed park at playground at Bright Park, and it's going to be spectacular. And it's going to be a great marker for the next round of improvements that will be coming as part of our Bright Park master plan. But it's not just about the neighborhood. It's not just about the kids. One of the things I think is the most compelling about the Bright Park story, about this Disney story, is actually how it happened. Because this is highly unusual. The call that we got for this Bright Park facility was March 14th. March 14th, Karina Orozco, who's in the audience. Karina is a member of our parks. She's been a member of our Parks, Recreation, and Intergenerational Services Commission. She's now a member of our appellate board in the city. But Karina and a friend of hers who works at Disney, her friend said, we had a park that we wanted to build. It didn't work out. It's just too complicated. It was taking too long, and we couldn't do it. And we really wanted to have a really great park in the region that would be able to be open in time for Disney's 60th anniversary celebration on June 1st in the state capitol. And it looks like it's all falling apart. It's really too bad that it's not going to happen. But it turns out that this Disney executive used to live in West Sacramento. And so Carrie Nocella calls her friend Karina Orozco and says, this is going to sound nuts. But since I am a West Sacramentan at heart, I am a West Sacramentan, I love the place, and I know my town, I thought that if there's one place in the world that can make this whole thing happen, property acquisition, development, permits, the whole thing, in like 65 days, it could only be West Sacramento. It's a long shot, but what's worth trying, right? And because the place that was supposed to be before had taken almost a year to not happen. So this is not an easy task to do. And so Karina and Carrie called, and they said, we really need to know, and it's like 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I'm talking to Karina, we really need to know, and so we called back at 8 o'clock that night, I conferred with the city manager, could we pull this off? Of course not, but let's do it anyway. And so we said yes, and everyone in the community rallied. The Yolo County Children's Alliance, which is the lead nonprofit organization on this, said yes, whatever needs to be done, we are ready to go, and we know how to do this. And everyone on the city team, all the city staff and departments, and whatever we need to do to make this a reality. And then when any hint got out in the community, people were volunteering before we had a project to make it happen. That's what's so amazing about this town, this combination of passion and heart with the design of systems that allow you to take advantage of opportunities like that so quickly, that when your government is organized to deliver what you want to see happen in the world. That it's not simply a regulatory agency, but it is here to accomplish real things, to improve people's lives when the opportunity strikes. That was a great marker about the whole West Sacramento way, about what it means to live and work and to govern and to lead and to make decisions and to make possibilities reality in West Sacramento. And a huge kudos to all of our partners, because this was not only government, this was the whole community coming together to make it a reality. Now, I mentioned this West Sacramento way because it was just after this that I got invited to go to Yosemite to speak to a bunch of other mayors and county supervisors in California about civic engagement and about how to just get things done faster. And Governing Magazine had hosted a conversation at the National Press Club, same topic. And they invited us to come out too. And I thought, well, we're a city, I think we're pretty great, but we're only 51,000 people. Why are we getting asked to all these things? And the answer was simple from all of them, which was, you guys get stuff done, and the public seems to love it. So can you tell us a little bit about what this West Sacramento Way is all about? So I did, and it's a little bit heretical, so many of you know this because you live it every day, but the fundamental message that I've been describing to some of our other partners is as West Sacramento is emerging as a national model for how engagement and action can go hand in hand, is that our traditional way of thinking, our 20th century way of thinking about government, which is just more and more citizen engagement, is always better. That if we can just get people to come out to the budget hearing, if we could just figure out an app for people to spend 5 hours, making their own city budget at home and then submitting it to us, if we could just find a way for people from every background to participate in the zoning decision that's coming up next week at the Planning Commission, then wouldn't that be great? And we've all said, yes, that would be fantastic. The more engagement, the better. Except for the people who are the target of our engagement, whose response has been, you know what? I have a life. I have a daughter who needs help with her algebra homework on Thursday night. I can't go to the Planning Commission meeting. There's a singer I really like on American Idol, and I'm not willing to give that up on Wednesday to sit in a city council meeting for 5 hours about some topic that I elected you to fix. What I really want is you to get it done. I'm telling you what it is that what I'm aspiring to. I'm telling you what my pain points are. I'm telling you what I'm hoping my government will do for me. And could you please go do that? And so thinking about engagement in a different way, not about constantly trying to get more people to spend more time in the process of government, which to me is a bit of narcissism, frankly, about how government operates, but also to recognize that most folks don't have the time, they don't have the capacity, and to recognize the privilege that it requires in order to devote that much attention and time and resources to participating in our 20th century legally mandated public hearing processes. And when you do it, then you can't accomplish things. Because that 65 days for the Kaboom Park, we didn't have a single hearing, we didn't do a community workshop, we didn't do a survey, we didn't send a notice out to all the residents saying, hear ye, in 65 days there might be a park, please come to a meeting on Thursday night to file your objections. The sorts of things that we expect and we mandate and we legislate for government, we did not do. In fact, we hardly ever do those things unless our city attorney says that we're legally obligated to do so. Because had we done that, we would never have made the 65-day mark. When IKEA came here and Rayleigh Field came here, same thing. Rayleigh Field, Jeff Savage's dad said, "Look, we can do this baseball stadium, but I need to be open in 14 months." What? You just bought the land yesterday. What do you mean you need to be open in 18 months? In 14 months? We could only accomplish that because the charge from our citizens has been, we're telling you what we want. Now, please go do it. And this is not Beverly Hills. It's not Davis. We don't have lots of extra money around. We're not a wealthy people. And so if we're going to accomplish things that blow our minds, that make our cities that much better, we need every tool possible. We have no to be spending 18 months on a task force or another study or another hearing or another meeting or another notice. And so this really is the fundamental of what the West Sac Way is all about. Now the challenge becomes then, how do you know? How do you really know what residents value, what they aspire to, what's bothering them, what their challenges are? Well, we're going to figure that out too. And we're going to become one of the nation's leading experimenters and innovators in this space. You're going to hear about Code for America in just a second. But the notion that we can use the data that we already have better, that we can use technology, that we can give people tools to be able to give us their feedback and their ideas and their values and their pain points in ways that don't require them to come to us, that don't require them to spend 3 hours at a meeting. Maybe you just do it while you're waiting for your coffee to get brewed. Right? You do it when it's convenient to you. Or if you're already giving us data, if you're already showing up at a park, at a particular park and not another particular park, we should be able to tell from the data, well, what kind of park do you like? We can tell by usage. Instead, what we do is we have a meeting. We bring everybody together, and Matt will say, I think the park should have a tot lot. Okay, great. The other 17 people that were there that are in the same neighborhood that have dogs and no kids are like, well, I don't want to be seen as an anti-kid person. So yes, we should definitely have a tot lot. And we end up with a tot lot regardless of what the kids are in that neighborhood. And then, after everyone's moved in, they said, where is the dog park? What kind of idiot would build a neighborhood like this and not have a dog park? Well, that kind of idiot is the idiot that we've designed in the system ourselves. And so thinking about how we use real data, real preferences that we can get from people's behavior and from the feedback they're giving us, as opposed to just constantly asking people in community workshops, is an essential part of the work that we're doing. Now, that's a hallmark in some ways of the Code for America model. And you would have had to have been under a rock because we were like yelling to the skies about this when West Sacramento was selected last fall to be a Code for America city. Now, we're the smallest city ever to be selected for Code for America, I think by far. But Code for America is one of the most exciting dynamic projects and initiatives that's happened in this country in a long time. So it originally described itself as the Peace Corps for geeks, and I don't think it quite does that anymore. But the basic idea is, could we harness the power of civic technology and of intentional ways of thinking about innovation and about user experiences to solve and to contribute to the resolution of civic problems? And to help government do business differently and to adapt to the 21st century and serve its citizens better, and also give citizens the ability to create value themselves and to co-create life in their own communities. It was a huge win for us. We'd been hoping to do Code for America for a long time. It would not have been possible without the partnership with the Sacramento Area Council of Governments, which is our core partner in this Code for America work. But we applied, we were selected, and it is a gigantic mark of achievement for us, and we're really proud of the Code for America work. What it meant is that 3 fellows joined us in West Sacramento to work on a project together with us. These 3 fellows take a year off from their life. This is why it sounds like the Peace Corps. They give up a year of their life, take off or quit their job, leave their families, forget their girlfriends, whatever. They take a year of their life in order to make something amazing, in order to help people discover the potential within them through the use and the application of civic technology. Our 3 fellows are actually here tonight. Grant Smith, who came all the way from Wisconsin, Natasha Fountain from Florida, and Emmanuel Aranzadi all the way from Puerto Rico, who have been hard at work. They represent user design, coding, the whole suite of skills, and they're working in the domain of food and health, in our community and throughout the whole region in a really exciting set of projects. We can't reveal them tonight because they're still prototyping and building and coding and testing and iterating. But what I can tell you is that as we had hoped, this idea around how does innovation happen, what can we learn from Silicon Valley, from startups, from lean startups in particular, and how do we change government, that is happening. They have infected, maybe that's not the right word, Dr. Pan's not here. They've infected City Hall with a new sense of how we can innovate and approaching problems and opportunities and solutions in ways that are not 20th century at all, but really are focused around these ways in which we might approach real startup development. So this notion of user-centered design and of iterative building just these 2 concepts alone are helping to reanimate the way that we think about how we can solve problems and how citizens can be engaged both in helping us, but more importantly, in creating value for themselves. They've helped us join this club of cities around the country that are innovators and known for their innovation. It matters for the innovation itself, whatever we build, whatever we announce later this year, but also for companies and particularly for the young creatives and others that we want to attract to our community to know that we are committed to doing business differently, and to taking a good hard look at ourselves and to applying technology in a place where design and technology and art and social impact can come together. So I'm thrilled with the Code for America project, and I'm really proud of it. Just this Friday, the mayor of Los Angeles has invited us to come and present at a national Big Idea Symposium, partly because of this work that is happening in this innovation space. It's not just about technology and coding itself. Councilmember Johannesson is going to be leading an effort to bring a Makers Fair to West Sacramento, which is born from some of the same spirit, but a different line of work. You may have noticed I'm wearing a Makers version of a wooden bow tie that has the West Sacramento and a little bit of Sacramento skyline etched in it. The maker economy and the values, the kinds of value and changes in the way that we think about business and opportunity and entrepreneurship is really powerful. And so I'm very proud that Councilmember Johannesson is taking the lead on this work. But it isn't even just about making stuff. It's also about solving some of the real trenchant problems in our community and our region around unemployment, around jobs, and around the skills gap. So many companies who report that they can't find the right candidates to fill key jobs that they have, middle skills jobs that are essential to their success, while at the same time we have still high enduring rates of unemployment in communities just like ours. So we're taking this on. This is going to be, this is a major national problem, but it's been a problem in West Sacramento for a long time. We're going to take this on directly. We have a big problem, a fundamental one, which is that kids, at least in West Sacramento, they want to achieve. They want to demonstrate when they accomplish something. It isn't that kids aren't learning. It's that they are burning to be able to do stuff that matters, to demonstrate that, to achieve, to accomplish. At the same time, employers and colleges, they want to know more about kids than just a single test score or just a single AP class. They would love to, when we met with Apple and Google, said we want to know what's firing a young person's heart, what their passion really is. And so we are embarking on a new project in partnership with a group called Cities of Learning that I'm going to be working on with Councilmember Sandine, where we think about using the entire city as a classroom, where all of growing up matters, and that learning and exploring and connecting and achieving anytime, anywhere can be marked and signaled, can be used and can be owned by the young person. So what is this concept? Well, Cities of Learning began in Chicago, an initiative of the mayor there. It's now starting in Dallas and Los Angeles, Pittsburgh, and the District of Columbia, and we will be next. But the idea is to be able to issue digital badges. Digital badges, for those of you who have not ever used them or heard of them, just think of even about a Boy Scout patch or a National Rifle Association sharpshooter patch, whatever it might be. We've all grown up with them. The notion that as you achieve something, there's some marker of that achievement that you can then demonstrate for some next thing that you want to do. To prove the skill or the experience or the competency. Digital badges are just a way to do that in today's digital world, where the young person can own all of them together and be able to share at their choice with a potential employer or college the full suite of who they are. And actually, it doesn't just mean an employer or college. It might be you're applying to a competitive program in high school, and you want to be able to demonstrate your experiences and your knowledge from earlier. But to be able to have more than just your CUME file from school in the backpack of experiences and things that you're passionate about and know how to do. So you might imagine that you would get issued a digital badge into your Mozilla digital badge backpack when you complete a high-quality preschool program in California or in our community. You might imagine that if you participate in our summer reading program at the at Yolo County Library, and you're a kid, and you read 3 books and you get a silver badge. You read 10, you get a gold badge. You read 15, you get a diamond. And that you own that, and you're able to demonstrate even at age 4. I was a committed, active reader taking charge of my own education. That if you volunteer to help build a house for Habitat for Humanity, that there's a badge that sticks with you. That's validated by Habitat for Humanity. That's not just I put on my resume 1,000 different things that I may or may not have done, but that is really part of a validated system of credentials. That public service that you engage in. If you do an enterprise as a young person, like the young people at West Sac Early College Prep and their work through Future Ready to redesign the website for the farmers market as a client with the West Sac Chamber of Commerce as a client, that there's a marker of that activity. So that the rest of us, in addition to the schools and the assessments that they do, in addition to the SAT, that the rest of life that matters, the rest of achievements and accomplishments that young people do that matter can make a difference. We're doing that in the city too, because one of the most important ones of these badges is for internships. And we are launching right now at the City of West Sacramento a comprehensive citywide internship program in part to advance this idea. And I want to challenge employers, public, private, and nonprofit in our community to do the same. We ought to be able to create a community where every young person has the opportunity for some form of work or internship by the time they graduate from high school. There's no stronger predictor, actually, of future economic success than some kind of internship or employment experience while in high school, and we can make it happen. So the city's going to lead the way. But once that internship happens, we want to be able to issue that badge again so that a college or an employer in the future knows that's a real thing, and here's what it means to have completed a public works internship in the city of West Sacramento and an internship at Raley Field. We want to take industry certifications, convert them, and create more that are badges, and work with employers and colleges in our community and our region to be sure that they're accepting the badges. So it's not just everyone issues badges and no one's accepting them, but to create an environment and a network of badges that can really drive achievement and provide motivation and markers and signals for young people, but also provide information for colleges and employers that allow them to look at the whole person and not simply what happened the one day that they were taking the SAT. It's not just for kids, actually, either. Because one other trenchant problem in this country, and particularly in our community, is what I would call the some college completers. The folks who've completed a few units, but never a degree and never even a certificate, that if with just another couple chances, they could make the degree, but maybe they can't afford to go back to college. Maybe no college will accept them because their units have expired, but they have real skills that could be badged in ways that certificates and degrees can't because they're not granular enough. So this is actually a major lift, but we're going to be bringing together the workforce investment system, Parks and Rec, and a lot of others to this party, as well as we try to really tackle the challenge of workforce development and opportunity for young people in a way that will be game-changing. That's innovation on the scale of something like an Uber or a Lyft or an Airbnb, but in the context of what matters in young people's lives and how we can make a difference for them and for our local economy. And it sounds crazy because we are a city of 51,000 people. We don't have a full-time strong mayor system of government. That doesn't matter. I am fortunate this year to be chairing the Jobs, Education, and Workforce Committee for all of the mayors in the United States, and this is going to be one of our top priorities, and our city is going to be one of the demonstrations for this work. It's also a central part of the President's initiative around My Brother's Keeper and our efforts to try to deal with serious social and income inequality in our country and in urban places around America. We know we can do it. 2 years ago, we launched Future Ready to start working on the West Sacramento College Promise. And just a couple of months ago, the President of the United States picked up that same idea and has proposed it nationally. We know we can make big things happen. We've built amazing buildings, a fantastic infrastructure, and we know we can do the same thing for our people and for our young folks. So I hope you'll join me in that work, both by providing internships and supporting us in thinking about how to redesign the system in a way that will really make a difference for young people. We know we can do it. So, because, well, along with preschool and all of our other efforts, if we don't end the cycle of poverty and unemployment in our community and hopelessness and inequality, we will not solve this problem. Part of the reason we know this is our recent efforts around even homelessness. And I know both Supervisor Oscar Villegas and Supervisor Matt Rexroad, our two representatives on the Yolo County Board of Supervisors, are here. And I want to simply mark a major accomplishment of this year, which is the Bridge to Housing initiative, which I hope you have all heard about to some extent. Homelessness is a major problem in West Sacramento, both for the homeless, folks who are living in unsafe, unsanitary, uncertain conditions with access to very few services or a chance to break out of it, and for the neighborhoods and communities which they're impacting as a result. It is one of the most trenchant problems in our community, but of course not just in West Sacramento. This is a problem across the region and really all across the country. But it is particularly severe here. In the Yolo County homeless census, out of the 191 people in all of Yolo County who were living unsheltered, 126 of them were here in West Sacramento. We've made a lot of progress over the last several years. There are very, very few children and single mothers that are homeless any longer. That's a major, major step forward. But this is still an unacceptable statistic, and it's having significant impacts on our community as well. We've been careful about this issue because a lot of folks, every 6 minutes trot out their solution to solve all of homelessness. And that's not West Sacramento. We are careful about how we're crazy in our ambition and our aspiration, but we are also aware of the limits of our power, and that the government of the city of West Sacramento does not have the ability to wave a wand and solve problems that have been solved really in no other place in the country. So we've been cautious while consistently looking for solutions to this challenge. This year, Yolo County launched Bridge to Housing in partnership with us and countless social service and nonprofit agencies in the county who came together to try a different approach. an intense housing-first approach where on our riverbank north of the I Street Bridge, it had been a popular area for folks who were homeless around the levee, and it had a community of about 71 people and 47 dogs and 22 cats. In this camp, not the only camp in the city, but certainly one of the largest and the most severe in its impact. And they lived there with no trash service, no running water, for an average of 4.5 years. This is not a temporary circumstance simply as a result of a temporary layoff. Some of them homeless for more than a decade. And the county said, we want to do something about this, will you help? And our partnership was unique in the region, and I will tell you, this was no easy decision for us, but we said yes, but if we're going to do this, let's really do this. We all have to be completely in it. So we leased the Old Town Motel down the street to provide a place for housing first, because Supervisor Rexroad in Villegas said this is the only approach that appears to have a potential to really make a difference. So on my birthday, actually last year, everyone in that camp moved into the Old Town Motel, Old Town Inn, and got all kinds of intensive supports. Services, haircuts, pet care, everything that could be delivered in a short period of time was delivered in order to see if we could really make a difference for people if we did housing first and then followed up with a full suite of services. It's only a pilot because this was an extraordinarily expensive and resource-intensive effort where the entire county mobilized around just this one homeless camp. But we wanted to see if we could we make a difference? Well, I really want to again commend Supervisor Villegas and Rexroad, who both, in addition to leading this, were out there at the camp helping with the move. They were at the Old Town Inn helping to make it happen, as were so many of our own city staff and so many volunteers and nonprofits and county staff as well. And we have learned a lot about what works and what doesn't work. And for these individuals, we know it made a difference. We know there is something here. We can make a difference. Fewer than half of the folks that were relocated from the camp had CalFresh food stamps. If you're from the 80s, now 80% of them have signed up and have CalFresh benefits. Fewer than half had any form of health insurance. Now 90% of them have health insurance. 90% of them got a housing voucher. 1/3 of them almost immediately into housing, another third in process, and then for many of those homeless individuals who had no income at all, now they have some, whether it's from SSI or from some other source. So the potential to break that cycle. So we know, yes, this is a big deal. So we've learned a lot from this project, and we know it is possible to make a difference. Did we solve homelessness in West Sacramento? No, of course not. Our objective was not to solve the entire problem. Our objective was to get out of the notion that if we don't solve the problem, then we should just do nothing. That our test had to be, is any intervention, is any solution going to solve everything? Because if it isn't, then we shouldn't even try. We had to get rid of that ideology and start moving forward with some solutions that could work. So we won't be doing the same exact program again, but we've learned a lot about how to design our partnerships with the county and other interventions to really make a difference in this arena. And I also want to particularly thank the West Sacramento Police Department, who did some heroic work on every aspect of this project in order to make this work. They know more than anyone. Our officers know more than anyone both the cost of homelessness in the community and the human experience of those who are experiencing homelessness. So stay tuned. We in the county and others are looking at some other approaches, but keep in mind, the test we're holding ourselves to is, can we make a difference? Not can we be the first one on the planet to completely solve a problem that is plaguing our entire nation. Now, one thing that we can do is continue what our program has been, which is to provide more housing that is affordable. In a very strong and intentional way. And just this last year, the Rivermark project in the Bridge District has opened to long, long lists of people signing up to move in. Delta Lane, the project that is going to be at the Tower Bridge Gateway. We're putting affordable housing right in the most visible parts of our community, as partly to make sure that we have integrated neighborhoods, but also because we wanted to be clear that affordability is a key priority. It's part of what binds us together as a community, and we're going to keep doing that. But it isn't just about affordability. It's also about protecting the health of our existing neighborhoods. And we were funded last year by the federal government for the Washington Sustainable Community Strategy to help to revitalize the Broderick neighborhood. And we, as I told you already, we're already seeing those results. We want to make sure as we do that, we're doing that in a way that strengthens the neighborhood, that doesn't replace it. So I've asked Bernadette Austin, who is a member of our planning commission, to help us convene a one-day task force, an intercommission, where we bring all of our commissions together for some work on gentrification, social inequality, and strategies, real strategies, that the city can help to undertake and leverage, and the community can undertake, that will help us to assure that as our progress continues, that we continue doing it in a way that doesn't displace and create the negative effects of gentrification. So stay tuned, because we're committed to a community, to a West Sacramento that is for all, and where everyone in our community, no matter what happens in their lives, can stay a part of our community. Back to the Code for America. Because this is another reason why we asked for the Code for America project, was can we do a project here where we bring technology to the table to help neighborhoods in the way that we've just been talking about and strengthen the place? And so one of the, I'm not going to say what Code for America is doing, because I don't even know what our fellows are up to this week. But I know that they've been spending a lot of time on the urban farm issue. And I mentioned that we won the National Award for Gardens and Green Spaces for the work that we've been doing with the Center for Land-Based Learning at 5th and C, and that's going to help to drive even more urban farms. And in addition, even beyond our partnership with the center, there's many others that are also moving forward with urban farm projects. And I know he's not here tonight, but a big shout out to Dan Gannon, who helped to get our thinking started on this work with his farm, small farm in Southport. But this is a major initiative of ours. This is not some cute little boutique project that we are engaged in, which I think some folks think when they see our urban farms. This is a significant effort to try to transform a neighborhood, to deal with a massive food desert that's plagued a neighborhood for generations, to create real meaningful career pathways for aspiring farmers, and to help to draw attention to opportunities for new development and activity in the neighborhood. This is a multi-benefit project that we're super proud of, and that we're really proud of the national recognition for it. And we know it's working. The city of Sacramento, based on their inspiration from our work, legalized urban farms, I think, last month. We are actually on track to have the most urban farms per capita in the entire greater Sacramento region by this summer. This is a significant initiative that's moving forward. And it's an example of how things work here, which is that civic engagement is not the result of a public hearing. It's about the result of people just doing stuff. It's about action. It's about the collisions between ideas and people and opportunities and resources that allow for the unexpected to happen. 5 years ago, we didn't have an urban farm plan. 5 years ago, we didn't have a brew district plan. I will guarantee you, we never had a community meeting where we said, what do people want? Let's break out the butcher paper, and everybody put little Post-it notes up on the board. What would you like to see? Nobody said brew district. Nobody said build a bunch of breweries at the port. Because that's only a small part of the equation, is what people think they want. Many of you know this from your work in the nonprofit sector and business. The bigger part is who's willing to actually do something. Who's the crazy people that say, you know what, I'm going to put my whole life savings on the line and start a brew pub in a district that has no brew pubs, in a place where no one's asked for a brew pub, but I'm going to do it anyway because I believe in it. Right? When somebody says, I'm going to start farming on this piece of property that used to have an underground storage tank, and that everybody's telling me it's going to have a 25-foot wall around it if it's going to work. No, I'm just going to do it. That is how things happen here. And it's a reminder for those of us who get too comfortable, who want to regulate everything, who want to have the world that's like a CC&R world where there's a rule about everything and a committee to review everything, that West Sacramento's magic has come because we were just slightly outlaw. Because we allow, encourage, and support people to do stuff that is out of the ordinary, and we figure out how to make it happen. Doesn't mean everything is allowed. There are still things that are illegal here. But the Yolo County Children's Alliance, who actually applied for a Kaboom Park last year in some kind of weird, vision into the future. Yolo County Children's Alliance is also a Big Day of Giving grantee. The Urban Farm, the Brew District, the Veggie Trike, the preschool program, the cyclocross program, the Sycamore Trail, Bridgeway Play, the Farmers Market. All of these ideas were ideas by the people doing them, not by some process. And so let us remember that creating the culture, the process, the institutions, and the set of rules and not rules that allow, encourage, and celebrate the craziness of people as they invent and create in a community like ours. Yeah. And I don't know, sometimes we have to stay that way because it's so hard. As more things happen, people just start to expect them. They're just natural. It's West Sacramento. Of course that should happen. Somebody's opening up a brew pub. Well, it really should have been a vodka bar. And then people get mad that it's not a vodka bar. And the point is, unless you're willing to put your life savings on the line and quit your job and start a vodka bar, then be quiet and go enjoy the beer, the brew pub, right? I mean, come on. Bridgeway Play, another great example. A group principally moms, but parents generally in the neighborhood. So we want to see this. We want to see this playground happen. We know there's a lot of playgrounds that need to happen in the city. We're just going to go out and work on this ourselves, and then we'll tell the city, when we're halfway there, we'll tell them that we're about to have a playground done in their park. That's the kind of thing that government hates, and it has to happen for a community to really thrive and for a sense of community ownership. That's what community engagement really looks like. It's what the West Sacramento really is all about. So part of our challenge in West Sacramento is how do we do that in the long term? How do we sustain the momentum of that way of thinking, that culture, that way of life in our community, that expectation that we're all going to do stuff that's going to make us a little bit uncomfortable on the hope that we'll do something fantastic and amazing. So I'm going to be asking the City Council for what is not really that radical of an idea, but for us to propose to the voters of West Sacramento the adoption of a charter. That will allow us to put the West Sacramento way into what is essentially a constitution for our community. Wow. Let me be absolutely clear. When I say charter, there will be no strong mayor in it. This is not about changing the form of government in West Sacramento, which works spectacularly well. It's not about the role of the mayor, the city manager, or any of that. It is how to code a charter for the 21st century. Most of the laws that govern how the city operates are really from the 20s and the 30s, when the city government in California first came to reality, and for the period after that. But we need a structure. We need a constitution for our city that allows us to sustain that momentum in a way that's appropriate to the 21st century. So we'll be convening a set of community leaders to help us as we ask the council for the authorization to proceed with the city charter. But it's the idea is to create a context in which we can keep it coming. More Rayleigh Fields, more IKEAs, more things like this downtown, more TBD Fest, more Kaboom Parks, more urban farms, the whole thing. That we can create the context for that to happen on a sustainable basis into the future. Now, the urban farm piece is a big part of our work. We're not just doing that. So this year, you probably noticed, you may have heard Bayer, in addition to opening up, then followed up almost immediately with another expansion by adding $20 million worth of greenhouses at their site here in West Sacramento. Bogle, which is a stalwart in Yolo County, just to our south, West Sacramento being the gateway to the Clarksburg wine country. Bogle opened up an $11 million facility here in West Sacramento. Shinmei joined Nippon Shoken in our food district in the Southport Business Park with a $3 million project. Tomra from Scandinavia, same thing. Our vision of becoming a global food hub that's anchored with these very local urban farms is absolutely becoming a reality, perhaps more spectacularly than we ever might have imagined. I have to tell you, we're challenged right now because of the drought on this issue, because food processing is a more water-intensive use than several others. So we have a challenge, but we're working with the governor and the state to try to resolve these issues, and we're making a lot of progress on the water side in order to make sure that we can protect both our conservation and protect the fundamentals of our local and regional economy, because under the current regime, every resident is held accountable for all the water use in the city. which isn't really fair, since those cities that are producing no jobs at all and aren't willing to host industrial companies within their boundaries have therefore much lower conservation targets for their residents. So we're working to resolve that, and we will. But we are also moving up our regulatory regime on water usage to match those requirements as well. Last year, West Sacramento achieved an 18% reduction in water use, which is no small amount. And we are one of the top conservers in the region and in the state. But this coming year, we expect we're going to have to be conserving 28%, which is just 10% more. But the next 10% after the first 18% ain't easy to get to. And so let me make a plea, particularly those of you who I see on Facebook and Twitter saying, "Hey, I love my showers, so what I've decided to do is I'm going to eat no more almonds and no more beef, or I'm not eating any GMO foods or something like that." The only water use reductions that count are water that's here in West Sacramento. We don't get that. We get nothing out of the 28% if you don't eat an almond. For two reasons. One, the almond's not grown here, but the other is that if you don't eat the almond, someone else is going to. The almonds are a global market, and so one less almond consumed in California does not result in one less almond's worth of water getting used. And so while I encourage you, if you're concerned about your global environmental footprint, to think about your diet and all those issues for sure, even if you've given up meat and almonds, you still need to shower no longer than the time of a single song on the radio. And I'm not talking about Free Bird or American Pie. I mean, a Today's song on the radio. You cannot shower longer than that. You cannot be watering more than once a week. You can't allow water to run off. I mean, these are not complex ideas, but we each must be doing them in order for us to make our goals. Simply drought shaming other people or converting the drought into some big philosophical issue about some global problem or oil usage or something is not, feel free to do that. That's not enough for us to get to our 28% water target. Now, we have some of the strongest water rights in all of California, so it's not as though our tap is about to get turned off, but we have a part to play in the state's solution to the drought, and we have to do it. And we will be held accountable for not meeting that 28%. So please join us in helping to make sure that that works, both so that we can help continue to fight the drought and so that we can protect those food companies, international companies and from around the country that have made this not just their home, but their international headquarters. We need to sustain and protect our local economy, and we need you to help make that a reality. Let me turn next to an initiative that Councilmember Johannes and I are also working on, which is completely unrelated to food. So I don't have a good segue. But simply to note that we've been asked by the American Association of Retired People. I don't know about Mark. I'm about to be eligible later this year, but we've been asked, along with the city of Los Angeles, to be the next two cities in California to be designated age-friendly communities by AARP and the World Health Organization. What this means is essentially a modern approach to thinking about aging in a community that is not simply about the senior center. We've had a very robust and vibrant senior center and a set of activities in our community for some time, and we made a decision. We've made a series of decisions over the last several years through our general plan and through a recent commission organization to rethink the way that we're approaching aging. So rather thinking about aging as a special population with a senior center where folks are segregated and just do senior stuff together, that while we're going to preserve that too, that more and more seniors, and there are more and more of them, or us, want other alternatives. They want the whole city to be a senior center. They want the whole city to be a place that they can enjoy and inhabit and live in to its fullest. And that means things like rethinking the way that we design streets, rethinking the way that we design homes, rethinking a whole range of policies that we have in our community around meeting these changes. And so we're going to be the host of the regional summit on age-friendly communities on June 25th here in West Sacramento, and Councilmember Johannes is going to be leading the efforts as we proceed along this work as one of AARP's designated leaders here in California. Then there's the streetcar. I know I'm jumping around, but I'm looking at the clock. The streetcar. all of you know there's a very important action happening on the other side of the river coming up in terms of support for the streetcar project. I know everyone in this room is a supporter of the streetcar because you know how essential it is for the economic vitality of our community and our region, how much it unlocks in terms of projects and opportunities and social equality in our urban core, and how much it is important to our employer recruitment and retention policies. State Farm, as an example, just announced their official policy is they're only locating sizable offices now directly at transit. Marriott is moving its global headquarters for the sole reason that they need to be near rail transit so that they can attract the best talent. The economy is moving there, and if we don't go with it, we will lose out in our ability to compete for the best companies and the best jobs and to retain the ones that we have. We know that it's essential because of the amount of growth, the sheer amount of activity and investment and excitement that's happening in our urban core. That for some folks, they're thinking about the streetcar right now and they're thinking, well, okay, what would I use it for? Well, I might go from West Sacramento City Hall and take it over to Luca or to Midtown, or maybe I'll stop by and go to Raleigh Field because I don't want to walk all the way from here. Maybe they're doing that. But what you have to imagine is with another 15,000 people in this urban core, in the downtown and the riverfront and this part of West Sacramento, 15,000 more people, and that many more jobs, and the arena and the Republic Stadium and Raleigh Field every night having concerts, and then the barn and everything, all of that times 10. What will this area be like? What will it feel like? How will we move around? Well, there's really no option. We have to have bike lanes and bike share. We have to have like regular cars. We have to have buses. We have to have our feet. We have to have things that are wheelchair accessible, and we have to have streetcar. If in 10 years from now we don't do it, and you look back and you're walking around and you can't get anywhere in our riverfront or in the grid, even on Uber, because Uber still has to use our same streets. You cannot get anywhere. And you will look back and say, why didn't those idiots back in 2015, why didn't anybody plan for this? Well, we are, but it is absolutely essential that this project move forward. Our best shot is right now. In fact, our only shot might be right now. Because there's never been a point where we've been more competitive at the federal level for the funds that we need for the $75 million, the key to unlocking this project. And if we said, well, okay, we're not ready right now, but we'll come back in a year, the federal government has a long line of other cities that's waiting for next year. We happen to be in the best possible place right now, that we are near the front of the line for federal funding for streetcar. If we don't deliver it now, we may never get it accomplished. And so this really is an absolutely critical moment for this project. I'm so proud and grateful to Congresswoman Doris Matsui for her leadership, just driving this project forward like a force of nature. And would also encourage everybody to join for the Ride the Route ride next week. But this project is critical that it happen, not just for West Sacramento, but for our entire, we've bet everything in this region on the fact that West Sacramento and the grid and the riverfront are going to be able to sustain this level of intensity that's only possible with a streetcar. They'll be supported by the new Mike McGowan Bridge and the bridge on the north that is the new I Street Bridge but doesn't go to I Street, the bridge on the south, which is often called the Broadway Bridge, but actually lands here at 15th Street. And then our city manager, who wants us to think about an enterprise bridge. There's a lot more big projects happening too, but they depend on the streetcar making that happen. There's so much eye-popping progress that's happening in these districts that it's probably hard to believe that we're only getting started. That this West Sacramento miracle is really only now approaching its second phase. That everything that has occurred to this point is really only a prelude to what's about to happen. The Washington District, first Washington Square, then Inland. The amount of new development and projects there is, especially when the new bridge is finished by 2020, they're already banging down the doors of the planning department. If you're interested, we are about to do a RFP for the Parish Garage as a potential project opportunity. In the Bridge District, which is our most significant, biggest project at the moment, with nearly 500 units already in play, 1,000 people, the barn, the new Habitat apartments that are open, that opened just last week. The Bridge District is happening at a massive scale very, very quickly. Villages in Southport that are starting to pop back up again, the build out of the commercial spaces around the town center, the extension extension of Village Parkway from the Mike McGowan Bridge, which will create an entirely new artery in Southport for travel as well. The Grand Gateway project, which unless you were here last year, you've never heard of before. The Grand Gateway being the no man's land, or the no person's land, that's in between our downtown and the Bridge District and the Washington area where CalSTRS and the Ziggurat are, that we are now about to bust open for development. We are moving forward with a plan for a cycle track along the old West Capitol Avenue that we are going to be decommissioning as we work towards a paseo that leads from here to the waterfront that we're applying for with cap and trade funds. And we are assembling, along with the Old Town Inn site, lots of other property for a major development initiative that will bring all of those areas together and create a really fantastic, magical place right next to our downtown. The Pioneer Bluff, an entirely new area which most folks don't really realize exists. Although I would say now that's not true. As a result of the opening of the Mike McGowan Bridge, lots and lots of West Sacramentans have discovered the Pioneer Bluff area. It's the area just south of the freeway on the waterfront, an old industrial area that has been planned and forecasted for transition to mixed-use entertainment, residential, and retail along the waterfront for 2 decades. The silos are down. The city's property is there and assembled and available and ready to build. We'll have 2 new bridges, the Mike McGowan Bridge and the Broadway Bridge, and a link to the Clarksburg Branch Trail and the South River Road Trail and the Center City. This is going to be the next bridge district in our community. Stone Lock, which is immediately south to that, another big development opportunity that will provide an entertainment anchor in Southport connected to the Pioneer Bluffs. Seaway and the Southport Business Park. Southport Business Park is going like gangbusters. The Seaway property project right next to it on the south side of the Ports Channel is also going to be another large opportunity. And then perhaps in the distant future, but I used to say that about the Bridge District in Washington and virtually every other major project that we've done, is the West End of West Capitol Avenue, which is another potential area for significant change and development as well. This is a lot of stuff. These are a lot of places. A generation ago, we would think maybe about attempting one of these at any one time, and we are going for it all. Why? Well, because it's the way for our community to work together, for the whole thing to come together, and also because the region has bet on West Sacramento. I mean, I don't know this, but we're going to be the largest city in Yolo County in just a few years. And most of the county's economy and most of its jobs are going to be here in West Sacramento. That's just Yolo County. We're projected to double our population right alongside downtown and the grid, and then go even further, double and then go another 25% beyond that. And we're laying the foundation right now to do it right, and to do it in a way that's integrated together. That's why the region's betting big on West Sacramento, and it's why the region is saying they're going to spend upwards of $1 billion on transportation improvements alone here in West Sacramento. That's the bridges, that's the streetcar, and it's the cycle track, it's the Clarksburg Trail, it's a ton of projects, $1 billion. It's more than any other city in the region other than the city of Sacramento, by far, maybe by a factor of 2 or 10, depending on the other city. This is where the action is happening in the Sacramento region over the next 5 to 20 years. And every part of West Sacramento is rising. Every neighborhood in West Sacramento is finally coming together with a network of trails and paths and bridges and streetcars that keep us moving, with a network of connected people that are making it all happen. I think last week there was a big buzz about a media report that called Sacramento the new Oakland. That maybe Denise didn't see it. That Sacramento's the new Oakland. It's kind of like it's the Brooklyn to Manhattan. Oakland is that to San Francisco, and that it's developing so many great restaurants and coffee houses and cultural institutions and economic activity and millennials and young professionals. All these great things. Of course, if you think about it, then if they're the new Oakland, then the city that's over the bridge, over the water, just to the west, that is home to the Giants, so we're the new San Francisco in that conception, which is sort of true, but we are way more affordable than San Francisco. But it should be a lesson that we are now in a point where our path is clear. That what we can accomplish, what we can achieve as a community is not unlimited, but our aspirations can be. the diversity of what we can accomplish has never been clearer, and that this West Sacramento progress, I look back at a few years of States of the City addresses before, if there's such a thing as Moore's Law in government and in community, Moore's Law being the microchip law around doubling every 2 years, then it's here. The rate of our progress has actually been doubling every couple of years. And what is possible now as a result is limited only by our collective imagination. And so whether it's with a new charter, with a city of learning, with the urban farms, with the age-friendly community, with a 21st century approach to civic and citizen engagement, or a complete transportation network, we're coding that progress into the future. It is only possible because of your imagination, your support, your passion for our community. And just like each of you, I'm a West Sacramentoan, and I love my city. And I know the whole community shares that love. Thank you for being a part of tonight, but more importantly, thank you for being a part of our tremendous progress.